In this video, we'll be graphing lines using a table of values. There are a few different ways to graph lines, so today the focus will be on creating a table of values and see the image, which is going to be a line. Equations with two variables, x and y, represent an image, and it is different based on the equation. So today we'll discover a linear equation, which is in form y equals mx plus b. The x and y will be our ordered pairs. Ordered pairs points on the coordinate plane, which will shape up in a straight line. And then m and b will be numbers present in the equation, and we'll talk about them a little bit more as we go on. So the x and y are the ordered pair variables where x is independent and then the y is dependent variable. So the x is independent, we'll get to choose values, and the y will depend on the chosen x. So let's see how to graph a line. We'll create a table of values for the equation. For example, I have a simple equation to start with, y equals 2x. So every y value will be 2 times x value. Every y value is twice the x value. Where do the values come from? So we are going to use a few steps here. Choose a value for x and solve for y, and then we'll plot the points. So the x variable is independent. We'll choose values for it. The y depends on the x based on the equation, and the points will be plot on the coordinate plane, and then we'll see a line shaping up. So let's see how to create that. X values are something that you can choose. So on your x-axis, you have from 0 choices, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, positive, or back to the left from 0, -1, -2, -3. So when you make your choices, you need to make reasonable choices so that fit on the number line provided. And then something simple to work with. So you're going to choose whole numbers. And the closer to 0, the better. So I am going to choose 3x values. And I'm going to have 0 because a 0 is always easy and small and easy to work with. Then I'm going to have to make 2 more choices. So I can choose 1, 2, 3, or I can choose -1, -2, -3, something that it's small, close to 0, reasonable to choose. So you can choose, let's say, 0, 1, 2, small and simple. I like to have 1 on the negative side. I like to have 0. And I like to choose a value on the positive side. So I'm going to just choose +1. So x is independent variable and it's a choice. That same x value we put in the last column here where the ordered pairs are going to be. So -1, 0, and 1. The y value of the ordered pair is dependent on x. In the equation, y equals 2 times the value of x. So every y is 2 times the value of the chosen x. So how does that look like? It says y is 2 times x. So 2 times, first, we substitute -1 because that's what we wanted to substitute. 2 times -1 is -2. So that would be the point -1 chosen x and -2 outcome. The second y value is 2 times 0 because in the equation we have 2 times x. The x we chose to be 0. 2 times 0 equals 0. So that would be 0.00 for the chosen x 0. The y came out to be 0. And if I have x1, y would be 2 times 1, which is 2. So for x1, 2 comes up for y. Plotting the points, -1, -2, ordered pairs 0, 0, and 1, 2. And I can see the trend going upward and can connect those points. And that is a positive line that came out from the equation based on my chosen x values, and then the y being dependent goes from the equation. So let's say I had y equals for another point right here. So what if x equals 2? So if x equals 2, 2 times 2 will be 4 from the equation. So if I choose x, just so I can check if that works, to be 2 right here, y would be 4 because 2 times 2 is 4. So the point would have been 2, 4, which is right here on the line as well. So no matter what x values I choose, y depends on it, and it will be using the same equation, so the points will be on the same line. If I was to choose x3, from the equation 2 times 3 would be 6. So the point 3, 6 would be right here, which again is on the same line. So let's see another example. The equation is y equals -x, or -1 times x. So every y value is -1 times the chosen x. Every y value is going to be -1 times the chosen x. So step 1, I say chosen x because we have to choose value for x. They're independent. So you can make any choices. Remember, the closer to 0 and the smaller they are, the easier it is to work with. So reasonable. We're not going to choose x equals 1,000 or something that is not reasonably fitting on this particular graph. So I have 0, 1, 2, or -1, 0, 1, or 1, 2, 3 if you want. So choose 3 values. So I'm going to use my -1, 0, 1. Just because I like a negative on one side, I like to choose 0 always, and then a positive 1 on the other. So my -1x will stay, 0 and 1. And then I have to solve for y based on the equation. So y is going to be -1 times x, which is -1, and that will be 1. Record the y value as an outcome. Second y value from the equation -1 times x, which is 0, will be 0. And the third y value will be -1 times the x value, which is 1. -1 times 1, -1. And then I plot my ordered pairs. -1, 1, 0, 0, and then 1, -1. I have my 3 points. I connect them, and that is a line that is pointing down to the right. So it's a decreasing or negative line or negative slope. Let's see another example. For instance, I have in the equation every y value, so I'm complicating a little bit, is half of x plus 3. So every y value has to be half of the chosen x plus 3. Half of the chosen x plus 3. Half times x plus 3. That said, half means division by 2. So when I choose values, remember, I can choose x to be anything I want. So to make it reasonable in this situation, I have to choose numbers divisible by 2, like 0, 2, 4, 6, even numbers. -2, -4, -6, because I have to divide by 2. If you choose here 1, x to be 1, 1 times 1 is 1, divided by 2 is 0.5. So I'm getting into a decimal situation. And then 0.5 plus 3 will be 3.5. So I have, it's still okay, but I want to avoid decimals or fractions. So thinking ahead of the steps that I have to do, I am choosing numbers divisible by 2. So that said, I'm going to have -2, 0, and +2. So record for the x -2, 0, and +2. And again, why? Because I have division by 2 involved. So when I solve for y, I'm going to have 1 times -2 divided by 2 plus 3. -2 divided by 2 will be -1 plus 3 will be 2. Okay, so half of -2 is -1. -1 plus 3 is 2. Second y value will be half of 0. So 1 times 0 is 0, divided by 2 is 0, or half of 0 is 0. 0 plus 3, 3. So for the chosen x value 0, the y value comes out to 3. If y equals 2, if x equals 2, y value will be half of 2, which is 1, and 1 plus 3, 4. Okay, so 1 times 2, 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, or half of 2 is 1, and then plus 3 is 4. Let's see if those ordered pairs create a straight line. So -2, 2, 0, 3, and 2, 4. 2, 4. So I have my 3 ordered pairs lined up in an increasing line that has a positive orientation or slope. You can see our trend going with the slope of 1 by 2, and we'll focus on that in our next lessons. Today, we're focusing on creating a table of values and seeing the line on the coordinate plane. Here's my next equation. Y equals -2/3 x minus 1. So the division by 3 is asking you division by 3, numbers divisible by 3. So when you're going to use or choose x values, keep in mind what the next steps are going to be. So this equation means -2 times x divided by 3. So in the fraction, we multiply numerator, divide denominator. So -2 times choose an x value that can be easily divided by 3. And then minus 1. So again, -2, choose an x value that can be divided by 3, and then minus 1. So to avoid situations with decimals and fractions, we have to think ahead of what numbers are reasonable. So those are 3, 6, 9, or -3, -6. So by looking at my provided graph, I'm going to use -3, 0, and 3. They're small, divisible by 3, and fit on the graph. Then I'm going to use the equation and substitute my chosen x value. So for the first y, I have -2 times -3. That would be 6. 6 divided by 3, 2. And then 2 minus 1 equals 1. So for the chosen value -3 for x, 1 comes out for y. 0 times -2 is 0, divided by 3 is 0, minus 1, -1. For the chosen x value of 0, y comes out to -1. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Divided by 3 will be negative 2 minus 1, negative 3. So negative 2 combined with negative 1, negative 3. So chosen x value of 3 gives us negative 3 for y. Let's see how those points shape up. Negative 3, 1, first ordered pair, negative 3, 1, 0, negative 1, and then 3, negative 3. My ordered pairs line up perfectly in a decreasing line. Now let's see one more example here. I have y value will be calculated based on negative 3 times the chosen x value plus 2. So we choose values for x, then we solve for y. Something small and reasonable. So let's say negative 1, 0, and 1. It can be 0, 1, 2. It can be 1, 2, 3. Something that you want to use. The line itself eventually will shape up the same way for any x values, and they will be on the line. So we have negative 1, 0, and 1. Again, those are my choices. When you get to do your examples, you can choose your own values. So negative 1 will be replaced in the equation first. Negative times negative, that will be positive 3 plus 2, 5. So for the chosen value negative 1, 5 is y. Same equation, we substitute 0 next. 0 times negative 3 is 0, plus 2 equals 2. And the y value, if I substitute 1 in the equation for x, negative 3 plus 2 will be negative 1. Let's see. Negative 1, 5, way up here. So negative 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 2, and then 1, negative 1. The 3 points line up in a negative line. We choose the values of x. They're independent. Then using the chosen x values, we solve for y. The ordered pairs will line up in a perfectly straight line, which creates a linear equation.